you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Host Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the earliest things that makes official. Welcome to the big show. As always, for 16 years, 2,800 episodes, we've been bringing the Chris Voss Show because we love our audience. We want them to be better, know more, and enjoy their lives better and make the world a better place. That's what we're here for. So help us out. Refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss won the TikTok and all those crazy places in it.
Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind.
Today we have an amazing young man on the show with his book that he put out in April 11th, 2024 called The Game Warden and His Friend Otto by Gary Ralston. Gary, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm really good. Doing
Thank
well.
you. All right. Give us the .coms, websites, emails, social media, wherever you want people to find you on the interweb, on the sky.
I use Facebook.
Okay. Do you know your Facebook link or anything like that?
Yeah, no, not right offhand.
All right. So give us a 30,000 overview, kind of in depth, of what this book is about.
It's a book about my journey as a game warden for 40 years, and it's a combination of things.
Now, would you say it's a novel or a memoir?
Huh?
Would you say it's a novel or is it a memoir?
A memoir, probably.
All right. And his friend Otto. Now, was that 40 years that you said you were a game warden?
I was 40 years.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. That's quite a good run.
Yeah.
Now, who's this? The game warden, I guess, is the protagonist in the story, the main character.
Yeah.
And then who is his friend Otto? Tell us about Otto.
He was a rancher that when I went to work in the area, he didn't like the game commission. He didn't like game wardens. He didn't like hunters. And everybody said that I would never be able to get acquainted with him. And I did. And it took me about 3 or 4 years to get acquainted with him. And once I got acquainted with him, we became best of friends.
Wow. Isn't it interesting?
That was, to me, quite a deal.
And what made you want to try and, make him more amenable as a friend or as to the game warden business?
To me, the only way you're going to be effective as a game warden is you're going to have a lot of cooperation from landowners and to get your job done. And you need their help. And I always thought that the more of them you could get acquainted with and know personally, the better off you were going to do the job. It was my thinking, and it definitely worked.
It sounds smart. Abraham Lincoln had this famous saying, and I'm not sure if I quote it right here, but I'll just pop it off the top of my head. He had a famous saying he said, and this is kind of referring to, I think, politicians to other politicians. And he's, I don't like that man. Therefore, I must get to know him better. Yeah. And it was a way of saying, I don't like somebody, but probably I don't understand them correctly. So I should probably get to know them so that I understand them. Maybe I might like them, maybe I won't. And so it's kind of opens that up, I think. And it sounds like you had kind of the same attitude of you're probably dealing with a lot of ranchers you had to maybe do that with.
I did.
Yeah.
I had a lot of rancher friends, farmers, and they gave me a lot of information that was very valuable to do my job,
Yeah. Tell us about your life. I see you're a U.S. veteran.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you grew up and the journey you took through life and how you ended up.
I was born in the Depression, 1935. I was born in 1935 during the Depression and Dust Bowl days.
Wow.
I grew up very poor And as I recall, the first 10, 12 years of my life, everybody that seemed to be poor. And it wasn't until after the Second World War that things started picking up. And I went to college for a couple of years and didn't finish, which was probably a mistake. But then I went into the service and served 2 years in the Army overseas.
Oh, wow.
And then I came back and applied for a job with the game department and waited three years before I got an answer. And I finally got a call one day and they asked me if I wanted to go to work, still wanted to go to work for the game commission. And I told them yes.
What was the proponent behind that? What made you choose that as your career or your interest in it?
I always had a fantasy of being a game warden because my granddad, who raised me the first 10 or 12 years of my life, he was like my dad, and he took me fishing and started me out fishing and hunting. And one time we were fishing and a game warden come along and was checking everybody, and I thought it was the neatest thing I'd ever saw, So then I always thought I'd really like to be a game warden. And I got the job.
Oh. Well, that's a pretty cool way to come in contact with your future career. And 40 years, I mean, you must have really loved the work.
I loved the work. Yeah, it was a lot of fun and very interesting. And the first 30 years, I hated to take a day off. But,
wow.
It's like everything else. The politics got involved and all of the red tape and everything, and that kind of destroyed the joy of it. But nonetheless, it was a good career, and I enjoyed it.
You're out in the great outdoors. Is your office basically fresh air?
Yep.
Vitamin D from the sun, and if you like animals, there's plenty of animals in the forest, and curating all of our stuff. But game warden is a big business. I'm trying to remember. I think when we were kids and Boy Scouts, we'd go fishing. We hike up to lakes and stuff and fish, and I think they would check you for the game warden, especially if you were out hunting with guns. And deer season was always big here in Utah when I was a kid. And so you tell the story about your relationship with Otto, and how many years or decades maybe did you guys know each other as best friends?
Probably 30 years, at least 30 years.
Wow.
And he passed away on me.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
You built a great friend. Mm-hmm.
He was a little older than I was,
Yeah.
He was a great old guy. I really liked him.
And so with your book, what do you hope people come away with when they read your book?
I would like them to think that I always thought that people didn't really understand all the things that we do, Our primary job is to enforce fish and game law. We do an awful lot of things other than enforce the law. We have a lot of other things that we did in our job. We did a lot of survey. We took care of depredation problems. People had problems with certain things bothering them. We had to take care of those.
Oh, yeah.
Depredation problems in the wintertime with deer on haystacks causing damage. And
oh, really?
Unhappy with it. And so we had to take care of all that kind of stuff and give programs. We had hunter safety programs, boating safety programs that we were in charge of and conducted, and gave talks to different organizations at their request. And there were just numerous things that were involved in introduction of animals into the area and moving animals around and birds around and stocking areas. And just a multitude of things we do besides enforce fish and game laws. And we were also in charge of the boating laws. We had to enforce boating laws.
So you guys are the ones out there, if they're drunk on the boats, partying too hard, you guys are the ones that pull up with the police boat and go, hey, knock it off there.
Yeah.
And boating safety is really important. I was when I was 10, 20 years ago or something, I was at a lake having some fun with my friends, and somebody had been putting their boat in the water, and their daughter was crawling up into the boat right by the propeller, and the lady turned the boat on and it sliced open her leg severely. They had to life flight her out. And so, yeah, that's really important. I had, when we had our boat, my buddy's idiot girlfriend, who's just dumb as rocks, my dog jumped out of the boat and then didn't, my dog didn't realize that water, you can't walk across water. That was his first experience. So she went right down in the water, and immediately she came back to the boat. She's, oh, crap, I didn't realize. I thought it was going to be a husky and run off. And so she was swimming back to the boat, and she turned the boat on to try and turn it around to go to the dog. And I was like, what are you doing, you idiot? She's going to be eaten by the blades. So, yeah, boating safety is really important. Also, not having idiots running your boat is important as well. She was sober. She's one of those guys. Every decision this woman would make that was my ex's girlfriend, I think wife now, it was just, we would tell her, whatever you think is a good idea is a bad idea. So don't do it. Anyway, but boat safety is important. I really felt for the girl. I mean, that haunts me to this day. I mean, she was laying there and I mean, it was a gash. It was a huge gash. I mean,
I saw some of that kind of thing, over the years. I saw drownings.
Drownings. No, that'd be horrible.
Drowning accidents.
Wow, you'd have to do that, huh?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. I lost a good friend in high school, Moon Lake in the Uintas, and my friend was holding his hand as he let go. And they were both in the frozen water of Moon Lake. And my one friend survived. They pulled him back in the boat, but the other kid, the lake is glacier lake, so it's super cold.
Yeah.
Anyway, now, who do you think would benefit most from reading this book? Who does it target to, you think?
The response I've got from the public, from people that have read the book, and I've had a lot of people contact me after they bought the book, people that I didn't even know. And they contacted me and told me how much they enjoyed the book. And I'm pretty well convinced that almost anybody that read that book would enjoy it and would get a little bit of education out of it. Things in there that they don't know about. And I kind of explained a lot of that stuff, and I believe they'd have a better idea of what a game warden does, and probably or hopefully have a little more respect for the job that they do and the wardens, and be more willing to and more understand a little bit better about why we do what we do,
Yeah.
A lot of people have the attitude that, oh, this is wildlife and it belongs to me and I can do as I please and all that. And that was the mentality when I went to work, a lot of people.
Oh, really?
And if you can convince them that they're wrong and that's not the way it is, why, I think you've accomplished quite a bit.
Yeah, you can't just do anything you want. I've seen lately.
There were people that would, though. They thought they could do it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's always the dumb ones, Yeah,
you always got a few knotheads in there. Yeah.
Like, the knotheads I've been seeing lately, they've been doing destruction. Like they've been graffitiing, national monuments, and not national monuments, but I mean technically, a national forest is a monument, technically.
Yeah.
And, they're out painting graffiti or carving their name into some ancient tree or, some, Indian hieroglyphics in their painting or something. And I mean, there was one that they knocked over something that was like something that had been sitting there forever, kind of balanced, and they knocked it over to be funny, but it was like something people came to see. And you're like, holy shit. I mean, how do we get these people that are just so stupid? But I mean, welcome to 2026.
It's hard to straighten out stupid sometimes.
You can't fix it, that's for sure. I've learned these people are kind of locked at where they're at. Now, with the book and all that stuff, let me pull this here. How do you force the law without letting emotion cloud your judgment? I think that is something you talk about in the book.
To me, as a law enforcement officer, it's your job to keep the peace. And you got people that are going to violate the law. And you're not always going to be successful in stopping it, and you could get awful upset and let let your emotions get carried away. But to me, I just took it as part of the job, and figured I wasn't successful in stopping something that time, but maybe the next time I would, be able to. So I never let it really bother me that much if I failed at a job I was working on or something. And you can let your emotions get involved in it, because that to me would get you in real trouble, because you probably emotions you shouldn't do.
Emotions can cloud judgment. And I know we've had a lot of people on, they talk about that. I mean, people who use emotion in stock trading will go bankrupt.
Yeah.
It's not a good barometer. And people that live in emotion, they always tell me, they're like, I have better awareness of my emotion than you do. No, you don't. Anyway, logic and reason triumphs emotion any day of the week. Let's see. What sort of routine did you use when you wrote this book? Have you written other books before?
No, I'm not an author, really. I just wrote this book after, when you're a warden, you do a lot of work by yourself. You're alone most of the time, out in the country by yourself.
Yeah.
And driving around, and you have time to do a lot of thinking while you're driving.
Yeah. And it is a lot of alone time, isn't it? Did you marry and have kids?
Huh?
Did you get married and have kids?
Yeah, I'm married and have 4 kids. Yeah.
I know some people that work in the game warden business, they're just kind of nomads, and they enjoy the isolation, peace, and quiet. And the
worst thing about being a game warden is it's kind of hard on your family, because we were required to work on all the holidays and stuff like that, and weekends. Most people are taking the weekends off and the holidays and having a good time. I couldn't do that,
Wow.
Yeah,
and you're probably out there for a long time, especially when there's like fires and stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
There's always something going on there in the old forest. But we've curated these national parks and the beauty of them, and they're sacred, and we got to try and do our best to protect them, because otherwise some guy flicks a cigarette out and burns everything down. I remember I finally had gotten a chance to get to, Yosemite National Park, Yellowstone. There's so many different places. It was Yellowstone. And I finally got a chance to go up there, and a few months before, it had that huge Yellowstone fire. I think it was the 90s or the 2000s. It would have been the 90s. And it was really disappointing that I finally got there, and I was just driving through pretty much just empty roads, and I think things were still smoldering actually when I went through, but there was just empty roads, and everything had been burned to the ground on the one side we went up, and it was really disappointing to see. But we saw lots of buffalo. There's always those idiots now that they get out of the car and they play with the buffalo, and they end up getting impaled or killed by a buffalo or hit, which is just insane. Some of the things that go on. You see now too, they're falling off cliffs, and they're falling off, what do they call them? Where the water goes down. I can't think of it off the term, but people are doing all this stupid shit where they're trying to get a good selfie photo. Here's me in a selfie with the buffalo, and meanwhile the buffalo is going to go, I'm going to run this guy down, man. What the hell is he doing?
Do.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, you would think people would go, I saw those stories about the guys getting, impaled by a freaking buffalo, stomped by a buffalo.
And they warn you all the time, don't mess with the buffalo. Yeah, that's true.
They do.
You got signs up and everything else, and people don't pay any attention to them. Then they get hurt, and they want to blame somebody else for it.
Oh, yeah. Then they sue, and it's, the thing. But good luck suing a buffalo. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. If this were to become a screenplay or movie, how would you imagine it being in it? Maybe your characters.
Somebody, what they were doing, could put together a good movie or TV show of a game warden's life, and use the things that I've written about in there. That if they followed those, they could write or make a really good movie. I think a very interesting movie, and one that people would really enjoy. A lot of people like game warden stories and stuff like that. I know I hear people all the time watching. They watch some of these TV shows they have on now about game wardens and their job. And to me, those shows are really not all that good because they don't really get into the real action, the real tough stuff,
Yeah. I mean, we probably should do a movie for this because, we need people to appreciate what's going on with game wardens. I mean, I'm sure you've heard they're doing massive cuts to game wardens and people out in the field in the national parks for this presidency. And they're looking to cut more, evidently, from what the news is saying. So evidently there's huge, long lines. I've seen pictures of it now, lined up to get into the you got to pay the fee and go into the park. Huge long lines for that. It's just crazy to see. And it's unfortunate because you realize there's probably an understaffing, obviously, of people who should be caretaking our precious, what I hope or we feel are precious forests. All right.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you plan on writing any more books as you go?
I probably won't. At my age, I'm not sure. I might, but it depends on my health and everything.
That'll be good. I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of stories over 40 years. Probably have a lot of stories of interesting things.
Yeah, the book is just a few of the encounters and stuff that I had over the years and some of the things that I learned. And it was a learning process as well as doing a job, that needs to be done.
Yeah. So as we go out, give people a final pitch out for people to pick up your book and where they can find it.
Where they can find it? It's available on Amazon, Noble, it's Reader House, and then several other sites through Ingram. And I think there's other sources where they can buy the book. You get on the computer and you can find out where it's available at. I mean, the big thing to me has been marketing on this book. Marketing is the key to whether you're successful with the book. And I've sold a lot of books and had really good luck selling them, but it's kind of slowed down. And I think I need a new audience, And I think anybody that bought the book, and the only way that they're going to know anything about the book is if they buy the book and read the book, And I can guarantee you they'll enjoy the book. I'd say 99% of them would have a positive report on it, because everybody I've talked to, I've had people call me that I didn't even know and told me what a great book they thought it was and how interesting it was and how they enjoyed it. And I've had people mail me the book and want me to sign it, and they'd bought the book and they wanted me to sign it for them, and they'd send it to me and I'd sign it and send it back to them. And so people really enjoy the book. One instant, I remember a lady bought the book and took it home, and her husband, she told me her husband never, ever read a book. She'd never seen him read a book. And he didn't even read the newspaper. The only thing he read in the newspaper was the sports results. And he was not a reader. And she said she bought that book and he started reading it, and he read it in 2 days.
Oh, wow.
He really liked it. And I got all kinds of compliments like that from people.
So now people can order your book, read it, and all that good stuff. Thank you very much, Gary, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
I thank you.
Thank you. And thanks very much for tuning in. Order up Gary's book. There'll be a link for it on the Chris Voss Show, and you can find it wherever fine books are found. The Game Warden and his friend Otto, out April 11th, 2024. Thanks very much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com for Sarah. Go to goodreads.com for Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com for Chris Voss. Chris Voss won the TikTok and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
All right there, Gary. Great